What's the most expensive process in almost any business process? Most of us know it's really obtaining a new customer. What if there was a way to get new customers, not only get new customers, get them to raise their hand, want to do business with you, but get them to trust you immediately that cost you nothing up front? What if there's a way to actually tap in and have your own distribution channel, your own marketing channel? Well, the marketing and distribution was done by somebody professionally and you didn't have to spend any money up front. Well, while you might be thinking I'm talking about affiliates, and affiliates might provide an aspect of this, we're going to talk today about something called partnership marketing. And the gentleman that I'm going to be introducing you to is a dear friend of mine. His name is Brendon Burchard, and he's a gentleman who really is one of those new money masters because he thinks radically differently than most of the people do, even in the internet marketing space. And I think you're going to find this session to be incredibly valuable, whether you own a traditional business and you're trying to figure out, how do I grow in this marketplace? How do I get those new customers? How do I deepen those relationships? How do I go to scale? Or whether you're somebody who's starting a business from scratch, internet marketer, someone of that nature. So let me start out by welcoming you. Good to see you, my friend.
It's an honor to be here.
Great.
Thanks.
Listen, you've had a wild journey. I think your journey is as interesting as your content. You started out at Accenture. I want to give people a little bit of your background first, and then we'll talk about what the differentiation is and this idea of partnership marketing. But how did you get involved in Accenture? I mean, you're still just a kid. You're a young man. Everybody teases you because you look so young. But you're what, 33 now?
33.
Tell us a little about your journey on the business side, and then we'll kind of go to your personal side and then talk about what can make a difference.
On the business side, I wrote a book in grad school called The Student Leadership Guide. And it was leadership focused, and that kind of gave me a name in the leadership space. And Accenture came through one day and said, hey, we're looking for leadership development consultants. You know this area. Come in and help us with this. You're great at helping leaders communicate better. You know the philosophy really well. You look too young, but I think we can put you to work. Right. So I said, great. So I went in. And we ended up building leadership programs at JCPenney and eBay and Best Buy and Nordstrom and Levi's and Walgreens. And big leadership programs or big merchant account programs. And it helped me understand, like, how does corporate America really work?
Right.
And it gave me the chops to really understand how business works.
Right.
And that process was invaluable, especially for a young guy getting to see it. But also, being the age I was while I was seeing that, I didn't have a context for it. So everything that was creative, everyone kept saying, that's so innovative, that's so new. And that's why the customers kept coming and coming and coming. So we went from JCPenney, it was Best Buy, Nordstrom, Levi's, Walgreens, so fast because they said, this kid has new innovative ideas that nobody else has, and he's doing it in a way that's more collaborative than most people.
Right.
And I've always had that little piece about me. I collaborate more than everybody else does. Wow. I give more than everybody else does. I come with more ideas about how people can succeed than anybody else does, at least the people I'm usually around.
Right.
And that's helped a lot.
Well, also Accenture, I guess you had the privilege at that time of being sent to all those innovation seminars.
Yeah.
So they sent you all the best, so you have a huge database that no one would have your age normally by any stretch.
46 some different innovation trainings all around the world, and literally from the best guys, the very top people. So I was having mentorship, you know me well enough to say, I always say, I've learned from people.
Yeah.
I didn't just come up with stuff. I kind of synthesized a lot of it,
right.
But I definitely stand on the shoulders of a lot of guys who've come up with big ideas, and then I just help people apply it in leadership or in business.
Now, you were heading in that corporate environment, that corporate world, and you had something personally happen in your life that kind of jarred you, and I think brought you more into how to integrate your heart and your mind and your emotions into the business side of things as well. Yeah. Share with people a little bit what happened.
Yeah, oddly, well, it was before all of that.
Oh, I didn't realize that was before that.
Yeah,
wow.
19-year-old kid.
Wow.
And I had a horrible, horrible first year of college. I mean, not that everybody has a great first year of college, but mine was really hard. And I went through just a terrible breakup with the first woman I ever loved. We were high school sweethearts, thought we were going to get married, very close. And emotionally, when we broke up, I just rock bottom. And then I saw in the school newspaper there was a job working in the Dominican Republic. And I thought, I don't know where that is, but I know it's not in Montana. I need to get the hell out of here, So I go down to the Dominican Republic, work a summertime job. It's great. I'm down with a good friend, and one night we're returning from a client's house, and we're cruising down this road going 85 miles an hour, and it was a brand new road, so it felt right, but all the windows were down, favorite songs on the radio. And we go down 85 miles an hour, and we came upon a corner that in the US would have had one of those big, yellow U-turn shaped signs, watch out, slow down.
Yeah.
But we were going so fast. And I remember to this day, Kevin grabbing the wheel, cranking on it and pulling on it, says, Brendon, hold on. And we go around the corner and we slide off and we start flipping off the corner.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people have been through this before. We're in that situation, everything goes slow motion.
Right.
And these thoughts start going through my mind of, oh my gosh, did I live? if this is really it, did I live? Did I live my life? Was I alive and vibrant and passionate? All the things that you've taught so many millions of people to do.
Right.
It was a critical point. It's like, wow, am I really alive if this is it? And then as we were flipping in the air, I had this sense of weightlessness. And I started seeing these weird images of just people I loved. And it was kind of a thought of, who am I going to miss and who will miss me?
Right.
And that second question we end up all asking in our lives is, did I love?
Right.
Did I love openly and completely and honest and just with my full heart? And then the car came to a crashing stop. I get knocked out. I come to. When I come to, I look over at Kevin, and there's blood all over his face. And he's screaming, "Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car!" I don't know, is it on fire? What's going on? I see him get outside the driver's side window, but I turn to get outside my window, and I can't. The window's smashed down. Matter of fact, the whole car is smashed down on top of me.
Wow.
And there's this moment that I'm able to pull myself through the windshield of this car, and I stand up on this crumpled hood, and I look down, and there's just blood everywhere pouring off of me, and I feel this fear as this young guy realizing that life can end.
Yeah. And
as I look down at the blood, I end up asking myself this question of, did I matter?
Right.
If this is it, and I'm literally feeling the blood just drain out of me, I'm thinking, did I matter? Did I make a difference? Maybe I didn't change the whole world, but did I change somebody's world?
Yep.
And just happened to be there was a little glint in the blood, and it caught my eye, and I saw it, and it made me look up, and there was this bright, big, beautiful moon that night. And if this fear had shot down, this faith kind of came right back up, and I felt this incredible awe and appreciation that I was still here.
Yep.
I didn't know how I was going to be here, but I was here. And I felt like the big guy upstairs just reached down and handed me life's golden ticket. Here you go, kid. You're still alive. You can still love. You can still make a difference. But now you better get busy, because guess what? The clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And that was a huge moment for me. And so I had these questions of, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? And I felt like I had gotten second chance at life. Mm-hmm. And so I go back to college, and I turn my life around. Before that, I'm this directionless, lost kid, because you're supposed to be at 19.
Right.
And suddenly I find my direction. I find my connection to community. I find my connection to other people. And I created these great relationships. And the reason I got into leadership is because I thought, I have this message about living and loving and mattering, and I want to use it, and I want to get it out to the world. How do I do that? And when I got home, I wasn't sure what the answer was, and then I was introduced to your work.
That's when you told me when we first met, I guess you listened to it back and forth, where, to rehab?
Yeah. I'm from Missoula, Montana to Great Falls. You have to drive over Rogers Pass, the Continental Divide in Montana. Yeah. It's a 3-hour gorgeous drive through the Rockies. And I had nothing but your set of tapes, the personal power programs.
Wow.
And it was the first thing I ever put on a credit card, as a matter of fact. And great. I went and I listened to them every time I go back, over and over and over and over and over again. And it gave me a sense of purpose,
yes,
but a sense of what to do. I think a lot of people are wondering in their lives, what should they do?
Right.
And you didn't give me the answer like, take this certain job. It just said, do what you're passionate about, do what you love. And I had this, I want to share this story. So I said, if I'm going to share this story, I need to learn how to communicate better. And because I was a kid from Montana, so I grew up in a cave, essentially, had no ability to really communicate emotion at all.
Right.
You're the first male role model in my life that really communicated passion and emotion, but at the heart level too. And so it connected me with that, and I thought, I can share like that.
Yep.
And I need to share like that just because I felt like that. And so I learned some leadership, I learned some communication, and I got good at both of them in college and in grad school. And because of that, I got the job at Accenture. And then I started working at all these corporations. And in the meantime, because that last question is, did I matter? I've volunteered every day since I've been 19. I mean, I shouldn't say every day. I volunteered every year since I was 19,
right,
a lot. And so I learned how all these nonprofits worked. And so I came to this point where I finally wrote Life's Golden Ticket because I had a message, and everybody probably listening to this interview, they have a message. They have something they're trying to get out of the world, whether it's
right,
about a product or whether it's about their personal life story or some advice they have for other people. They have a message, and the question is, well, how do you get it out? And for me, I had Life's Golden Ticket. I wanted to share that message, but I'm this dumb kid from Montana. I don't have, all the publishers were saying, well, what's your platform? Meaning, how many people do you reach?
Yeah.
I didn't have a platform. I knew my family, I knew my friends, I knew some horses. The horses didn't like me. I mean, I didn't have.
You're really in bad shape.
I had nothing going for me. But I finally thought, one day I was so frustrated. Everyone said, what's your platform, kid? What's your platform, kid? And I didn't have one. I thought, my whole life I've worked for these nonprofits. Worked with these nonprofits. And I've worked with these Fortune 500 companies these last 7 years. If I can just get them to work with me, to partner with me, and to promote my stuff, well, that's a platform, isn't it? And that day, everything shifted. That was because I finally had the vehicle.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people listening to this, they go, what's the vehicle? How am I getting my message out?
Right.
And maybe they can do it through books or some other things, but ultimately it's like, how do you get people to pay attention to your message? How do you draw them in if you don't know anybody?
Right. And traditionally, in order to do that, you either have to build a platform, as you said, you have to build something from scratch. You had a great metaphor. I think when we first met, I said, how do you look at partnership marketing different than traditional marketing? And you gave me the example of the railroad. I think it'd be a good metaphor to share with people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in the United States, especially the Western hemispheres, when someone goes to start a business, there's this myth in America of the self-made millionaire,
right,
that we're supposed to build it on our own.
Right.
We're just supposed to figure this stuff out, start, we're going to be great, everything's going to be awesome, and magically we might, get some work someday. And the metaphor I use is building the train. So imagine building your business is like building a train. Most people, when they go to build their business, they cash out all their money. They run up their credit cards. They, borrow from Uncle Harry. Me too, right?
I didn't have an Uncle Harry, but
They get all of the money they can.
Figure out how to build a distribution channel that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, and worse. So they get all the money they can, and they go over here and they buy the railroad ties. So they get all the railroad ties, and they get them all, in a big order, and they hope they line them up in the right way that's going to reach their destination or their demographic.
Right.
Then they buy the rails, then they buy the wheels, and they buy the train, then they buy the engine, and they fuel the whole engine and the train with their own money, their own capital, their own time, their own energy, their own expertise.
Yeah. All of which takes not only all those things, but it takes enormous amount of time.
Enormous amount of time. And they're hoping that they're going in the right direction, but they're not really sure.
Because they're trailblazing very often. It's something new.
It's trailblazing, and it's a wonderful part of being an entrepreneur is that you're always doing that. However, it's missing the greatest element of good business, and that's best practice.
You're right.
So what I tell to people all the time, I say, well, let's just stop all that frenetic activity of you doing all the manual labor of laying these things down and hoping it goes that way and guessing, and let me just position you over here intelligently enough so that you can hook onto the super trains that are already going by.
Right.
These are the Fortune 500 companies, the global nonprofits, the organizations of the world that have already laid the infrastructure.
Right.
They've already figured out how to serve and sell your audience. Right. They've already figured out what the audience wants. They've spent millions, if not billions of dollars on consumer insight. Yeah. And now you partner with them.
And they have the trust, which is probably the most important thing in our society today, the thing that you read the statistics, people don't believe, was that 80% of the population doesn't believe a corporate website at all.
Right.
But 90% believe a person that they know. But these people have a relationship already. They have a trust built with them that takes sometimes years to be able to build.
Right. They have trust and they have brand.
Yes.
So when you partner with them, you access into both.
Right.
Because, so who am I? I'm Brendon Burchard, right? Last year we did close to $4 million in sponsorships and partnerships.
Right.
That's a pretty good number for me.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who I am.
Right.
Now, I have celebrity friends who are saying, I'm not even doing that much, and they're working towards it, but why can I do that is a great question, but the benefit that I receive so many times is when I get to say, I've been sponsored by, a Walmart or a Coca-Cola or a Toyota or major companies, you get what I call borrowed credibility.
Sure.
And that borrowed credibility, that's where the trust comes in. Right. And then you get access. Another metaphor is, a lot of people are building their business, especially in the online world, by what I call drip economics. And that's where they're hoping to get that one new lead, that one new email, and they're doing campaigns to get that one little piece, and they think that's going to make them millionaires overnight. And you know how hard it is to build a list, though you've built larger ones than most anybody in an industry, period. A lot of people really struggle with that.
Right.
And I call it drip economics because it's kind of like water torture. You're waiting for that next one to come, and you're just like, And my metaphor is, these organizations already have these huge customer pools.
Right.
And when you partner with them, you just take your business pipeline and you plug it in.
Right.
And it's a different level of working.
So let's talk about how you did that to start with when you're brand new. Give us the first project you did it with. Was it your book?
Yeah. No, it was before my first book. Before Life's Golden Ticket came out, I had an 18-month period between the time the book was going to come out but I had written it. So I got the deal with HarperCollins, and they said, okay, we're going to release it 18 months. I'm thinking, what am I going to do with myself for 18 months?
Right.
And one of my passions is youth, working with youth. And 50% of students in the United States who go to college never graduate. They drop out. Mm-hmm. And they're dropping out with massive debt, and they're dropping out with massive emotional debt as well because they feel like I'm a failure. Right. Well, we never prepared them to succeed emotionally, socially, academically, and financially. So I said, let's build a program for this. So I have no business in the youth space whatsoever. I've never done anything in it. I mean, I had the book, The Student Leadership Guide, so I had some exposure in there.
Sure.
But that book hadn't even taken off just yet. So for me, I thought, well, how am I going to do this? And one day I'm sitting down, I'm watching Sony Pictures, and they're advertising this movie, and they're trying to reach, they're clearly marketing to the college demographic. And I thought, I'm trying to reach the college demographic. You know, how could I get in with that younger set? And being young and dumb, nobody had told me that I couldn't just pick up the phone and call Sony Pictures.
That's great.
So I call everybody. I go through 10 or 12 different gatekeepers and finally get this person on the phone and I say, I've got this college program that I'm creating. I'm going to do it at Walt Disney World Resort and it's going to be awesome and I think we could tie it in with your movie in some way.
Right.
And they said, okay, let's talk about that. So we end up talking about it. And what's interesting, what guys like me have, and a lot of people who are probably listening to this who maybe they're not huge corporations, what we have is content.
Right.
What we have is a unique ability to engage an audience or to add some content to their lives or an experience to their lives that improves their lives or in some way is unique.
Right.
So I had content, and that content was the seminar that I was creating. And they said, gosh, that's awesome. I think our youth would really like that. So what we ended up doing together was we did a sweepstakes together where we gave an all-expense paid trip down to Walt Disney World. And you gotta understand, I haven't even got the papers in the mail yet saying this is a real business, right? And so
Great.
I remember the woman says to me, she says, this is great, we'll do a sweepstakes and we'll run it and we'll put it on our website and everything and could you give 2 all-expense paid trip tickets? And I thought, oh my God, I mean, I'm not even a real business yet. So I got my calculator next to my phone. I punched out the numbers, and I remember it was probably about $1,100 for me to give a gift like that.
Yeah.
And so I say hesitantly to her on the phone, I said, yeah, I think I could do that. And she says, oh, great, because we'll run it on our Sony Promotions website, and we'll guarantee you get 5 million hits.
That's great. Yeah. $1,100 for 5 million hits.
You know,
Let me think.
Yeah, and what it is, I mean, imagine how long it would take me to build a website that would get 5 million hits.
Yeah.
So we run the sweepstakes, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was within 3 days, we had like 64,000 people enter the sweepstakes.
Yes.
And I got the list.
Wow.
And it was the exact demographic that I was trying to reach.
Wow.
And it built that program. Our first one at Disney, I think we had 300, 400 kids
Yes.
at the very first one.
Wow.
And then we got sponsored by Wachovia and Sony Pictures and Princeton Review and a bunch of other companies and nonprofits who all came together and said, this is awesome. And then it just grew from there.
Yes.
But it became, I've now learned a process for it, but when I started, I had no process. I just, I didn't know any better, so I stumbled through, and
Right.
after 18 months of doing it now,
But you got better also at really meeting the needs of the people that are going to sponsor. Because just to go to someone and say, I'm going to sponsor something, it wasn't that big of an audience, right? Like you said,
Right.
300, 400, 500 people.
Right.
It wasn't that big an economic component. But I found interesting when we first talked about this, you talked a little bit about Bed Bath & Beyond and how you got those guys to want to sponsor. Tell that story if you would, because it shows, I think, a very important part of this partnership, which is it's not just going and cold calling and saying, I want you to sponsor me.
Right.
It's finding a way to meet a need for them in a unique way. They can't get customers
Right.
in that way. And I thought it was brilliant what you did. So please share that.
Yeah, we switched from a product-driven economy to a service-driven economy. You know,
Right.
the GDP is no longer GDP, it's really GDS. It's gross domestic services, because services overtook products. And that's just happened this decade, so it's a brand new thing for the economy.
Right.
And as part of that, if services are really the most important part of the economy, then our question is, well, how do we add experiences to people that they can't get? So my turning point in sponsorships came from a conversation with a woman at Bed Bath & Beyond, where she said to me on the phone, she said, well, we don't sponsor anything. And I said, okay, and right off the bat, it's huge resistance. I remember I'm sitting in a car in a parking lot, and I'm thinking, if I can just get through to this person, this would be huge. And I finally got her on the phone. She says, we don't sponsor anything, we do circulars. If we want to reach lots of people, we can do a circular in a college town. We'll reach thousands of college kids, I mean, like that. I said, that's great, but college kids don't read circulars, and they don't care about an ad.
Yeah.
And she says, well, it seems to be working for us and everything else like that. And I said, yeah, but I could create something that you could never create, and that's an experience with these youth who will love your brand at a deeper level than some stupid ad. And I made the mistake of saying stupid ad. Sometimes when you're young, and I know you did it on your radio
Yes,
shows,
yeah,
you were challenging people, and,
Right.
and you did it much more purposefully and tactfully than I did. And so she says, well, what do you mean? I said, tell you what, I'll have 1,000 youth at this next one, and you know, I don't want just to give you a bunch of stupid signage. I want to create an experience with these people that nobody else could ever create. So what if we did this? What if, and I just started creating in my mind. I said, what if we, in the room next to the seminar room, we added in a whole other room, a whole conference room, and we set up 3 like mock dorm rooms that were just completely bare dorm rooms. And then we had your store. We had like a storefront of yours over there. And we'd parade teams of these 1,000 students in there. And they got to take stuff and their time, take stuff from the store and decorate these 3 dorm rooms. And then we do a whole contest there and see who wins, who decorates the coolest one.
Right.
And she's like, yeah. You start seeing her see the experience that they're going to get with the brand.
Right.
And I said, and wouldn't it be cool then after that if when they went home, we gave them a bunch of flip videos and video cameras, and they went home and we charged them. We said, you know what? Go out, buy stuff from Bed Bath & Beyond, and they got to buy it on their own. Got to save the receipt. Go out there and decorate your dorm room and film it, the before and after, and put it up on YouTube.
Right.
Put it up on YouTube, and we'll have all the students, 1,000 students do that, and then they'll rank and review which one is going to win.
Right. And
imagine now you have 1,000 videos on YouTube of students doing something magical with your brand. You can't buy that.
Right.
Now they couldn't think of that on their own, and this woman just opened up and was super conversational and said, next time you're doing this, we really got to talk. And long story short, she ended up switching roles and everything else like that. But it was her enthusiasm for it, and the magic that I heard her have on the phone when we realized we can create something. You create something at your events that nobody else in the world can.
Right.
Nobody can copy it. Nobody can touch it. So like a Wachovia or a Coca-Cola or a Toyota, it's not that they're sponsoring necessarily just Brendon.
Right.
My whole thing is never, I don't want to be famous.
Right.
They're not sponsoring the brand of Brendon. They might be sponsoring an event that I'm doing.
Right.
They might be sponsoring a nonprofit fundraiser.
Right.
They might be sponsoring a big promotion for something else.
Right.
So I'm not always trying to be out there, and I think that's the mistake a lot of people make, entrepreneurs. They hear about business and they say, well, who am I?
Right.
Maybe. You know, celebrities, is it easier for them to get sponsorship? Yes.
Sure.
So what you do is you create a project that's going to engage their customers, and you add unique content or unique experiences, and then they're interested in you.
And the beauty of that is